Anthony Edwards is rapidly becoming a nightmare for NBA teams. From shooting almost 50% on catch and shoot threes this season to completely locking up Jayson Tatum in overtime, Ant is emerging as one of the league's best two-way players. Therefore, it's no surprise he is being considered as the modern Michael Jordan. But how accurate is this comparison really? Before you and I discuss this comparison, let's break down an overlooked aspect of Ant's game, his ability to dominate in pick and roll. However, just like the Death Star, Ant does have a flaw, but it's looking like he might have figured it out this season. Drop coverage is by far the most common pick and roll defense in the NBA. The goal of this coverage is to prevent high percentage shots, threes, and layups, which forces most NBA guards into the tougher mid-range pull-ups or floaters. But not with Ant. At 6'5" with a 6'9" wingspan, Ant is not the biggest player in the NBA, but his 225-pound frame and 41-inch vertical make him a nightmare for bigs around the league. Here, Ant uses a snake dribble, attacking Chet's top foot, forcing him to open up his frame. He then beautifully angles his shoulder into Chet, bumping him out of the way before finishing wide and to the right. Notice how Gobert sets the screen super early. This is a great way to create an advantage versus aggressive defenders who want to pick you up full court, which is something that you should look to use in your own games. This gets Ant a full head of steam. He then uses a small in and out dribble to further place Sabonis in a disadvantaged position. Notice how he again uses his shoulder perfectly, bumping Sabonis and creating space. What he does next is so special. See how Ant completely stops on his left leg after the bump? This allows him to perform a Euro step to step past Sabonis before hanging, waiting patiently for the right moment to finish, only to get fouled. However, Ant's strength allows him to convert this into an and one. Something so special about Ant's game is his elite patience. He is never rushed, and I want you to notice this throughout the video as a key strength of his game. Now let's dive into the other two coverages teams have tried to deploy to slow Ant down. Teams like the Spurs tried to limit Ant's driving and shooting ability in pick and roll by bringing the big higher. But Ant's poise allows his big, Gobert, time to slip and get downhill for the open dunk.
Straight cleanup on aisle 3. Come get it.
New Orleans used a similar coverage. Valanciunas is high, preventing Ant from driving, whilst Dyson Daniels is on Ant's hip, preventing him from shooting. Because two Pelicans players are at the level of the ball, the solution is for Ant to find Gobert on the slip like the previous clip. However, this time Ingram rotates over to take this away. What should Ant do? Should he A, hit Rudy, B, shoot it anyway, MJ Kobe style, C, hit Conley in the corner, or D, hit Nas Reed? You have 3 seconds. Because the tag is in, taking away Rudy's dunk, the concept is to pass to where the help came from. So Ant correctly passes it to the wide open Conley for the easy 3. The 76ers try to just straight up double team him late in the 4th. Cat sets the pick for Ant, and then notice how Covington and Springer just stay with him, ignoring Cat. Ant remains poised, using retreat dribbles to buy himself time to see the floor, eventually finding Kyle Anderson for the easy floater. Part of being an elite hooper is your ability to understand what is going to happen next. As Gobert steps into the early drag screen, Ant is looking for warning signs. Ant can see Looney is up, meaning a flat show or double is likely. He also notices Kuminga trying to cheat and get over before he uses it. These warning signs lead Ant to use a reject, a pick and roll tool that deserves its own video, to get downhill for Euro stepping the weak side help into the and one. So you can't go over and have the big in a drop, as Ant attacks the big and finishes with poise around the rim. And if you bring the big up, Ant perfectly dissects the weak side help, finding his teammates for wide open looks. So surely switching will work? If no advantage is created through the pick, Ant will go to his elite isolation bag. Here Branham gets over the pick. Again, Ant is patient. Notice how Ant moves over to the slot area before dropping the ball slowly between his legs, lulling Branham to sleep before exploding downhill into the easy finish. Let's revisit this clip together and break down why Ant's patience is so important. By moving over towards the slot area, rather than just starting his ISO in the middle of the floor, Ant gives himself equal space to drive both middle and baseline. If he were to start his ISO on the split line, he would have to go right, making him very easy to guard. This very small, overlooked detail is so important if you want to be an elite isolation player like Ant, which you should 100% aspire to be. As you can see, Wemby, who has a near 10-foot standing reach, switches onto him. Notice how A, there is very little time on the clock, and B, Trey Jones and Keldon Johnson are forming a literal wall, preventing Ant from being able to drive past the slower Wemby. Ant, noticing these warning signs, puts it between his legs slowly, making Wemby sit down into a defensive stance to guard a potential drive. He then uses a very slight jab to get Wemby off balance before stepping back into the beautiful three.
The pull up over Wemby.
This little jab is so powerful. Not only does it get Wemby to step back and create space, but he also loads his weight onto this front foot, allowing him to push backwards, further creating more space. Ant also has a beautiful mid-range game, which is why I think he draws all the MJ comparisons. The big, LaRavia, switches onto him, so Ant uses a very simple hezzy and just raises up over him for the beautiful midi. So switching clearly doesn't slow Ant down either. However, a key flaw in Ant's game leaving college was his three-point shooting. During his first 3 years in the NBA, teams would just go under whenever the Timberwolves ran a pick and roll for Ant, leaving him wide open for three. This worked wonders for teams, as Ant only shot 28.7% from three in pick and roll during his first 3 seasons. Going under would also prevent Ant from getting downhill and attacking their bigs for easy finishes. So a win-win for the defense. But since then, Ant has dramatically improved his three-point shooting to a solid 33% in pick and roll. This improvement over his career has removed his only flaw in pick and roll, truly making him a nightmare to guard. The even scarier thing is, Ant is only 22 years old. Let me know what you think Ant's ceiling is for his career below.
Take off.
Ant is also a problem off the ball. He is currently shooting an insane 48.7% on catch and shoot threes this season. This shooting threat forces defenders to run him off the line. But just like in pick and roll, Ant has an answer for this too. Off the rip through, he slows down using a subtle eye fake to get Nance in the air before stepping past him into the controlled floater. Ant's off-ball movement is just as impressive. His awareness extends beyond shooting and pick and roll. He's constantly looking for back cuts. Especially when defenders try to cheat handoffs. This next play is a perfect example. Notice how Ant reads Duarte trying to blow up the handoff, therefore slamming the brakes and smartly changing direction for the back cut. Again, Ant shows incredible poise and patience for a 22-year-old, just waiting, using pump fakes until Duarte bites before banking in the open fade. Very Kobe-esque.
Deep single digits of 2. Kobe. Come on.
To be compared to Michael Jordan means you have to be elite on the defensive side of the floor as well. Ant's defensive prowess was shown in their win versus the Celtics. Ant picked up his 5th foul early in the 4th quarter, which meant he played the rest of the game 1 foul away from being out.
Get your popcorn ready. Foul. Ooh, that's 5.
Which makes his defensive efforts even more impressive. Ant went on to completely lock up Jayson Tatum in key moments, here forcing Tatum into a very tough contested 3.
In front of him, Tatum over the top.
And in this clip, forcing Tatum into the jump ball. Not only does Ant have crazy individual defensive skill, his ability to execute team concepts is elite as well. Here, Ant perfectly performs a steer switch, the goal being to steer Ingram back in the direction of Daniels. He does this by locking off Ingram from using the Valanciunas screen and then using his frame to be physical with Ingram, resulting in the steal and easy dunk. As we've seen, Anthony Edwards has emerged as a nightmare, presenting a challenge for NBA defenses and offenses alike. This remarkable impact has inevitably led to comparisons with Michael Jordan. While such parallels are common within basketball, they can set daunting standards for rising talents like Ant. It's essential for us as fans to recognize and celebrate the unique qualities each player brings to the game, rather than confining them within the legacy of others. This can lead to unrealistic expectations and a failure to appreciate the talent of today's players. As we close this video, let's embrace a new perspective. Let's appreciate players like Anthony Edwards for who they are and what they bring to the game. The excitement lies in witnessing Anthony Edwards become the best version of himself. Not the next Michael Jordan, but instead the first Anthony Edwards. Who was your pick for Rookie of the Year, by the way? Do you think Wemby should win, or does Chet deserve it? Click this video to hear my thoughts, and don't be afraid to let me know yours.